You are letting the people who matter most slip away right now. Yes, you. While you chase the next deal, the next notification, the next "I'll get to it tomorrow." Someone who loves you is waiting for your voice, your presence, your truth. Death doesn't check your calendar. It arrives like a silent thief and leaves only the echo of everything you postponed. And Buddha knew this truth better than anyone. In ancient India, he told a tale so unsettling it still cuts straight into your chest today. Beside the sacred, swirling waters of the Ganges, where the air hung thick with saffron, sandalwood, and raw ambition, lived a merchant named James. He was no villain. He was simply a man swallowed whole by the empire he had built. His caravans snaked across dusty trade routes, carrying gold and spice from distant kingdoms. His warehouses groaned under silk and rare incense. Every morning the marketplace exploded around him, haggling voices, braying donkeys, coins clinking like battle drums. James moved through it like a lion in his own skin, sharp-eyed, commanding, unstoppable. He told himself he was securing a legacy, building walls of wealth so his family would never want for anything. But there was one person he kept pushing into the distance: his father, an old man living alone in a quiet village 2 days upriver where the Ganges slowed and the jungle pressed close. The father had raised James with calloused hands and quiet love. For years he sent simple messages. "Come when you can, my son. The days grow short." James would read them by lamplight, feel a brief stab in his chest, then bury the words under ledgers and contracts. "Next full moon," he muttered, after this final shipment. Seasons turned, the promises stacked like unpaid debts. The marketplace became his temple. The deals became his prayers. He wore the armor of busyness so tightly that the real world, the one with heartbeats and final breaths, felt distant, almost unreal. One blistering afternoon, as the sun hammered the market square and the river shimmered like molten silver, a dust-caked messenger burst through the crowd on a lathered horse. He shoved past porters until he stood before James, gasping. "James, your father lies on his deathbed. The healers say he will not see another week. He calls your name with every shallow breath. He begs to see his son one last time before the river takes him." The words landed like a fist. For one frozen instant, the entire marketplace vanished. James saw his father's face, the deep lines of endurance, the gentle eyes filled with unbreakable pride. A raw ache rose in his throat. Love, guilt, the terrifying knowledge that time was no longer a servant, but a predator closing in. His hands trembled on the ledger. The messenger waited, eyes heavy with pity. Then the noise crashed back. A caravan leader shouted about a delayed shipment. A rival watched like a vulture. James swallowed hard. "Tell him I will come," he said, voice tight. "But not today. One more deal. 2 days at most. The business cannot wait." The messenger stared a moment longer, then rode back into the heat. That night, James paced the cool stone floors of his grand house. Oil lamps flickered across walls lined with scrolls of prophet. He tried to focus on numbers, but they blurred into the image of his father alone by the river. Tomorrow, at first light, he promised himself. Yet dawn brought a new crisis. Bandits had attacked a caravan, valuable silks at risk. My father taught me diligence. James rationalized, mounting a different horse. He would understand. This is for our future. Days bled into one another. Each morning, the intention burned in his chest. Each day, a new emergency smothered it. Lucrative negotiations, sudden price drops, the quiet terror that leaving now would crumble the empire he had bled for. The voice inside grew louder. What good is sitting by a dying man if you return to ruin? He sacrificed so you could succeed. The habit of delay had become invisible armor, shielding him from the one thing he feared most, the raw present where love and loss collided without warning. Meanwhile, in the small village upriver, the old man grew weaker. He sat each day by the window, eyes fixed on the dusty road. Neighbors brought broth and stories of James's wealth. Your son is a great man, they said. The father smiled faintly, but his gaze never left the horizon. Each sunset without his son carved another silent wound. On the 5th day, the guilt finally screamed louder than the excuses. James slammed his ledger shut, left contracts unfinished, and mounted his fastest horse. He rode like a man pursued by demons. The jungle closed around him, alive with bird cries and the distant roar of the river. Branches whipped his face. He pushed the animal through the night under a sky heavy with judging stars. The Ganges glittered beside him like a silver blade. He arrived at dawn. The village was unnaturally still. Mourning cloths hung from the roofs. Villagers stood in hushed clusters. James's stomach dropped into a void. He leapt from the horse and ran to the modest house where he had grown up. The door stood open. Inside, on the simple wooden bed, lay his father. Still, peaceful. The life that once carried him as a child now gone. The body had been washed and wrapped in white cloth. A single oil lamp burned low, casting long shadows across the room that smelled of sandalwood and finality. James fell to his knees. He took the cold, stiff hand in both of his. Father, I'm here. I'm finally here. The words cracked and broke. No response came. Only the heavy silence of a room where presence had been postponed one time too many. All the conversation saved for later, all the thank yous, all the simple admissions of love, they rose like stones in his throat. He pressed his forehead to the lifeless hand and wept as he had not wept since boyhood. The empire outside, the gold, the respect, none of it could buy back this single moment. None of it could silence the scream. I waited too long. Word of the merchant's shattering regret traveled quickly along the river. It reached the Buddha and his monks in a nearby monastery. That evening, as the sun bled red across the Ganges, the Buddha spoke. His voice was calm, yet carried the force of a thunderclap. My brothers, he said, eyes piercing every excuse. How many of us live exactly as this merchant lived? We postpone the sacred for the urgent. We trade the living heartbeat of those who love us for the cold illusion of future security. Time is not a servant waiting for our convenience. Time is a river flowing only one direction, carrying the people we love away from us right now. He paused, letting the silence press against every chest. The greatest tragedy is not losing your fortune. It is realizing when it is already too late that while you were busy becoming someone important in the eyes of the world, you forgot to be fully present for those who already saw you as everything. And now the same teaching strikes you like a slap across the face right now. You know exactly who those people are. The parent whose last message you left unread. The child who keeps asking when you will have time. The friend whose number sits in your phone like an accusation. You feel the tug even as you listen. That small, urgent voice saying, I should call, I should go, I should say it. And then the louder voice, later, after this, when things settle, stop lying to yourself. The tigers of death circle every life. The mice of time chew relentlessly at the vine you hang from. Your strawberry, that single perfect moment of real connection, is waiting in this ordinary day, in this exact breath. Will you reach for it, or will you let another excuse chain you in place until the only thing left is the crushing silence James found beside an empty bed? The merchant learned this truth the hardest way possible. You still have a chance, but that chance shrinks with every heartbeat you waste. Pick up the phone, book the ticket, walk through the door. Say the words that matter while voices can still answer, because what you truly value will always speak louder than the empire you pretend is more important. And when the final moment comes, no success, no gold, no perfectly scheduled future will ever silence the pain of what you left unsaid. Who will you call today? The choice is yours, but the river is already flowing